This is George Dionne with Metal Express Radio, and I'm here with Doug Aldrich of the band The Dead Daisies. How you doing today, Doug?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, George. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for being on.
Good.
If I knew absolutely nothing about The Dead Daisies, how would you describe the music to me?
It's just changed a lot. We've got a brand new album that's a little different, but I would say it's guitar, heavy rock guitar sound. But we have a new member. Glenn Hughes has joined the band, and we've got a new album, as you know, called Holy Ground. And so we've taken a little bit of a left turn, a new fresh start for the band. It's definitely heavy, it's groovy, and it's melodic all at the same time.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that Glenn Hughes is new to the band and the album is Holy Ground. Are you responsible for bringing Glenn into the fold because you were one of his touring guitarists back in the day?
No, I actually didn't. I would love to say I was the one. Maybe they thought of him because they knew I had worked with him, but management reached out to him, and then David Lowy met with him, and they called me and said we're talking with Glenn, and he's interested in joining. What do you think? I was like, that would be incredible. I'd be so happy. I didn't think about Glenn because Glenn was busy touring a lot for his classic Deep Purple shows, and which did really well, and so I didn't think of him. But when they said, well, give him a call, see what, you guys should talk. And I called him, I go, Glenn, is this real? And he goes, yep, we need to make a record together. It's time. So we got busy.
That's awesome. Did you already have parts of the album written when Glenn came into the fold, or did you start it when you guys all came together?
For me, David and I had written a few things, and a couple of those things, one or two of those things made it till the record, but I really didn't start writing full force myself until Glenn, I could envision who was going to sing. It's really important for me to know like who it, how we're going to change. If we're getting a new singer, we should do something fresh and different. And until I knew it was Glenn, I didn't really start full force writing. Meanwhile, Glenn, when I called him, he said, I have a couple things already I've started to write. And I said, I can't wait to write together. And he said, yeah. And so he brought some things. I had some things with David. I brought a couple other bits. And then we wrote some stuff together from scratch in the studio. It just came together. And the final track on the album, Far Away, Glenn brought that in at the last minute. He had all the parts, and it was just a matter of arranging it and getting the treatment correct. And then it was like, he played it for me. He goes, what do you think? I go, dude, if we get that right, if we can capture what I'm thinking in my head, it's going to be killer.
It is a fantastic album. You're kind of setting the pace for 2021 here as far as hard rock, classic rock, at least in my opinion. That's from good. Beginning to end, it's great. You don't slow down at all. You keep it rocking. I noticed on your YouTube page that you guys kind of recorded in a unique place in France.
Yeah, it was a perfect situation because, first of all, it was prior to the pandemic. It was the end of 2019. We had started demoing and stuff in the summertime, and we went into Sunset Sound in Hollywood and did a little bit of work. And then we weren't sure where we were going to record, if it was going to be in LA or if it was going to be in New York. And then out of the blue, David Lowy said, I'm going to be spending some time in Europe. Maybe could we find a spot in Europe? And management found La Fabrique Studio. It was an old fabric textile place in the south of France, outside of Marseille. And so we went there, and it was great because there was no distraction. It was full on. We were living on the premises and recording there. So basically, like, our bedrooms were above the kitchen, and then we'd come down, have breakfast, and then go straight down into the studio. Never had to get into a car or anything. It was the first time for me to ever do that, and it was great. Really could stay focused and concentrate on this album.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old days of the '70s guys. They'd always try to get away from life to kind of be inspired and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it really was. When there's no distractions, you can achieve a lot in a short period of time. I mean, I love being at home and doing stuff at home, but I mean, I've got kids and a wife, and there's just car, somebody, there's just things that get your mind off of it. When all you have is your guitar and a bed, it's awesome. It's simple, and it really was a perfect situation. The other thing that was perfect about it is that we really needed to gel as a band. Doesn't just happen. Because we started in August as I said, at Sunset Sound, doing some demos and stuff, and the quality of our songwriting improved a lot once we were able to. I mean, the songs were there, but we were able to bring them to life when we could stay focused on it.
Absolutely. And you've released a few singles from the album. You've released Bustle and Flow and Unspoken and Righteous Days. I can't remember if you did one for Holy Ground yet, but are you planning any more singles?
We did Holy Ground. The song is on the YouTube channel. You can find it. And it's the opening track on the album. It's a kick-ass rocker. It could be a great opening song for live, too. Who knows? But it's one of the first songs that we demoed up at Sunset Sound, and then we revisited it and simplified it, made it heavier and more dynamic when we got to France. So we did that one, and the next one will be coming shortly.
Okay. I would suggest Like No Other, Baseline. That song is awesome. I can't get it out of my head ever since I listened to the album.
I love that song. I that was the first song that I specifically wrote with Glenn in mind. And then I didn't do the lyrics or the melody, but
right.
I'm switching to headphones because my
earbuds cut off.
Earbuds, one side cut off.
That happens to me all the time.
So hopefully it sounds the same. But anyway, I had envisioned that for Glenn because he do so much, and then I just thought about I'll keep have this simple heavy riff, and then when it gets to the verse, let the bass drop out. I can just envision Glenn owning that time, and I'll hold down the riff and let David hit the chords, and then it just comes directly into a chorus. It's got no pre-chorus, and very simple song, and he liked it. I presented Glenn with some stuff, and and Glenn presented us with stuff, but it's really up to Glenn, what songs we're going to work on, because he's got to feel it. He's one of those. He's a very spiritual person, and he needs to feel what he's singing. It's got to be getting off on it,
Right. So Glenn Hughes is, he's been around for a while. Was there a point where you thought like, well, he might have a certain expectation of you because of, where he's gone in the music business, and you felt maybe a little intimidated, like, can I live up to this guy's expectations?
No, not so much. I mean, I've known Glenn for years. If I sit back and think about it, of course he's legendary, I mean, but I've been really lucky and super blessed with the singers I've worked with, working with Dio and Whitesnake for a long time. These are big personalities. So actually Glenn and I met through Ronnie. But if you asked me when I was a fan, just a fan of Glenn's, as a kid, would I would be working with him, I would have thought I would have laughed, that wouldn't be possible. First of all, I'm American. I live in America. He's English. He lives in England. How are we ever going to work together? And it's like, little did I know that in that time, these guys would actually be part-time living in Los Angeles, and eventually I would get out of high school and drive and move to Los Angeles, but at a certain point in your career, you start to feel like, at least for me, I start to feel like everyone's just a person, So if I'm lucky enough to work with somebody that I respect their work and that I want to do a good job. So to answer your question, I put the expectation on myself more than somebody. I want to. Sometimes, you'll play something and people that you respect will go, "Oh man, that's great," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I can do better." And it's like, no, that's really good. I really like that one. But I'm like, well, I can definitely do it better. But if you're happy with it, then I'll stay with it. Because sometimes you need an outside person to give you that direction.
Absolutely. Now I gotta ask, whose idea was it for these dance mixes for Holy Ground and Unspoken? It's different. It's good.
Yeah, it is. It's different. It's something that these in Germany there are well, every country has these artists that that mix. I forget what they call them, but they're like rave guys, and they reached out and said that we really like this song. We had done it in the past with them. We did it for something on Rise Up. They asked about doing it, and so they asked about doing it for Unspoken, and eventually they got it back, and it was very different. Pretty cool video. I think they did another one too off of this album. I can't remember what song it was, but
Holy Ground.
Holy Ground. I can't even. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's very different, but it's kind of cool if you're into that kind of music. It sounds good.
Yeah. I saw that you may be touring this fall. Is that still on the table?
Fingers crossed. We shall see. We definitely need to. We're ready to. We just need to get past this virus to where we can travel more easily, And I think it's going to come down to getting vaccinated. If you want to go country to country, you have to get a shot, which I'm all for it. But I've been through this before, where with Whitesnake we went down and played in Manaus, Brazil, which is down in the Amazon, and in order to go into that area, you had to get the yellow fever shot, which was 2 shots. It was kind of a similar situation. And then you get this yellow card. I've got the yellow fever shot. It's good for 10 years. And I never got one again, but it was a similar situation. You had to have it.
Right. Are you guys planning anything online as far as performances are concerned?
Only we've
just
talked
videos.
About it. No, we've talked about it. It's something that we might be doing. I mean, we just have to see what happens with our touring. We had some stuff that we pushed back. It was actually, we were supposed to be on tour right now.
Right.
And that got pushed back till a year from now. So, but then we have other things in the summertime that we are hopeful will still work out. And we have things in the fall that we feel, if the ones in the summer work out, hopefully the ones in the fall will work out. We just got to see. But if for whatever reason there isn't any touring, not only are we going to go crazy, but we will have to do a live stream just out of sanity,
Absolutely. Dean Castronovo has bowed out of the Dead Daisies after the recording of this album because he's facing some health issues.
Well, and he's okay. He's going to be fine. Everybody. We love Dino, and he told me, and I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" He goes. He started laughing. He's like, "Yeah, I'm out of my mind." But basically, he had this trouble when we were recording, and it got worse last year. But he didn't want to. Obviously, operations were kind of off. You couldn't do anything unless it was an emergency. And he wasn't drumming much, so he was just waiting. And he kind of, I think Dean, was left alone. He just was like, man, I got to do something. And he started working on a session with some friends in Nashville, and it's a new project where he's going to be singing. And I think playing drums on the record, but he's going to be singing on it, lead vocal. He's got a great voice, and it's very melodic rock, like pop.
Right.
Really good. And so, hey, man, that's cool. If that's what he wanted to do, so we support him. But the of course, we miss it. We'll miss him, miss his energy and his playing. But Tommy Clufetos has been in the band prior. He had done a tour with the Daisies in 14, I believe it was, or 15. And he is a freaking powerhouse, a monster player. He's probably the heaviest drummer out right now. Like, there's nobody that sounds like Tommy, and I can't wait to hear him and Glenn together on the rhythm section. It's going to be amazing. He's a super cool, like, really nice guy who I've never played with, but I've seen him play, and it's going to be brutal live. It's going to be great.
I've actually seen him play at the Cape Cod Melody Tent. He played for Alice Cooper, but he also played for the opening band, so he's quite the drummer.
Right on. Who was the opening band?
You know what? I can't even remember. It wasn't even like a named act. I think it was just like an up-and-coming band, and I'm not sure if it was Tommy's band at the time, and he just got the Alice Cooper gig too. But he was quite the drummer that night.
Yeah, he's amazing. Can't wait.
The Dead Daisies is a musical collective, and I looked at everybody that's in the band, and you'll be glad to know you don't set the record for the most band members in a band. You're close. No. Number one is Green Jelly. They had 300 band members. So
are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh man, there's these things. It's how Deep Purple started off too. It's called a roundabout. It's like, we're gonna have a roundabout. We're gonna have people come and go and contribute music, and it's gonna be, peace, love, and all that stuff. And that's now we call it a collective. It's a collective of musicians coming in and bringing their best, and then staying as long as they want, and then going doing other things, maybe coming back, like in Tommy's case.
Right.
It's been how many members has it been? If you look at it, do you know? I'm gonna guess.
It was over 20.
Okay, well there's definitely bands that I've been in with the initials W and S that had more than that.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of other bands, you are a member of Revolution Saints with Dean. Are you going to be doing anything with them after
No. I think
run its course.
Well, no. What it is basically I don't want to do that many things at one time. I really want to focus. Glenn and I talked about really focusing on this album and also working on music with David for the next release, whenever we get in the studio, whenever it's appropriate. But I don't want to. The Revolution Saints was great, and I'm very proud of it. It's very targeted towards melodic 80s sound. And a lot of people really supported it and like it, but I think after 3 albums, it's kind of like it's a good time to call it a day. And I really just want to focus on holy ground at this point. So that's kind of that's our plan for this next couple of years. I mean, look, we've got to get out on the road to support this record, and I'm hopeful that it'll start this year, but it may not start till next year. Who knows?
True. They recently re-released "Killing the Dragon" by the Dio album. You appeared on that album, and you toured with them for a few years after that. That's actually where I first saw you.
Oh, right on.
What do you remember about that, being involved in that album and that tour?
That was interesting because Ronnie had offered me the job in 1990, but I was still a part of my first band that had been signed. It was a band called Lion. And I just wanted to make it. I was living together with the band. We had a 1-room apartment. Our furniture was my amps and cabinets and stuff was our furniture. And we'd do a gig and then the place would be empty. We'd eat off of 2 Marshall cabinets with a piece of cardboard on top. And that was our dinner table. But, so Ronnie offered me the gig, and I was like, I really want this band to make it. I really believed in it. And, but 10 years later, Jimmy Bain and I were doing a session. Jimmy Bain was the bass player who passed away a few years back. But he said, we're looking for a guitar player again. Would you want to check it out? And I said, definitely. And then 6 months went by, and I didn't hear from him. And I was like, I called Jimmy. I go, are you guys still looking? He goes, yeah, we're thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, but you said that 6 months ago. He goes, oh, I know, we kind of held off for a while. We weren't sure, but definitely we're going to do it. And then he said, let's meet at the pub. That's where Ronnie always wanted to meet. Ronnie goes, let's meet at the pub and we'll talk about it. And he goes, do you want to maybe play a solo or two on our new record? And I go, no. And I look at Jimmy like, what do you mean? And I said, I'm going to play everything. I want to be the new guitar player. And he goes, okay, you start tomorrow. So we went to the studio and I started doing, they hadn't done any guitars yet. So I started doing guitars and we wrote a couple songs together. We toured the entire year. It was a great year. And then I got the offer to join Whitesnake for a 2-month tour. And that turned into a long time, a lot of music with David Coverdale. Really proud of that portion of my career as well. And eventually I, was asked to come back and fill in during breaks with Whitesnake. And that's when we recorded the Holy Diver Live, which is coming out in like a week or so.
Yeah.
But I haven't been in a band per se, like a real band. I mean, with Whitesnake, with Dio, it was a band, but it was Ronnie's band. And, I hadn't been in a band like Lion, my first band, until joining the Dead Daisies. It really feels like when I joined the band, it was like 5 guys sat down with acoustic guitars, and our producer, Marty Fredrickson, had an acoustic, and we all sat down and just started playing and writing together. And it was like, we do everything together. Like, it feels like a band. I know it was a band prior to me, but it just feels like a family. When whoever's in the band, once we gel, it's great, So that was what was important about going to the south of France, was for us to gel, to be the band again.
Awesome. Yeah. Last week I interviewed Stan Bush, and you have something in common with him. You and Lion did a song for the Transformers soundtrack as well, and you were on the same label as Stan Bush back in the days.
Yeah. Not the best fit for us, but
yeah, I get a mixed bag on Scotty Brothers' label. Stan didn't kind of like how it was there, and Survivor was like, yeah, we loved it because they focused everything on Survivor and stuff like that. What was it like for Lion, coming up at that time in '87?
It was 86 when we signed with them, and we had built a following in LA that was really strong, but we were not your typical, like, everybody passed on us. We were not like a typical Hollywood band. We had a British singer, and he was very much influenced and got me into early Whitesnake and some other bands I never heard of, like Status Quo, and we loved Thin Lizzy. I, of course, really loved Zeppelin, and we kind of melded all that stuff, and it was very similar to a young Whitesnake type of thing. So labels would come see us thinking that we were going to be like, Poison or GNR or Warrant, and we weren't like that. We might be looked a little bit like that, but we didn't sound like that. And so we got the last couple spots that were available and people signed was with Scotty Brothers, and we thought, it's a subsidiary of CBS, and it'll be okay because we're going to make a killer album, and we did. But the first thing they had us do was, the first thing that said to get us to sign the deal was, we're going to get you on a couple of movie soundtracks. Oops, sorry, somebody's chiming in. Let me come back. There we go. So yeah, the first thing they did was get us on a couple movie soundtracks, which one was a movie called The Wraith.
The Wraith, absolutely.
With Charlie Sheen, and then Transformers. And they had Cal Swan and I, the singer of Lion, rewrite the theme song based off of, we co-wrote the theme song for the Transformers movie based off of a 20-second jingle or 20-second chorus hook that the original writers had written. So we made it into a rock song. And it's amazing that people come up to me and go, man, when I was a kid, that was like my favorite song. And the first time I heard you, and I was like, I listened to it recently and I thought, it's not as bad as I thought. It was kind of cool, actually.
It holds up. Well,
Stan and all the others that were on that thing, we all got a little piece of money in the front, and that's pretty much it.
Were the Scotty brothers kind of like, thought they were kind of mobster types? That's kind of what.
Yeah, they were. They were mobsters. I mean, and I say that with the utmost respect, because I've got other people in my life who have been into positions where they were influential, let's say. But the Scotty brothers were known for the system of payola, which people don't know about that now, but it was back in the 80s. It became popular to hire an independent promoter to take your album to the radio station and get it played. And so you would pay that independent promoter, and they would take that money and they would seduce the music directors with money or maybe drugs, or I don't know, but somehow they would get your record played. And it was illegal, kind of, I guess. So that's where but they also had ties to Italy, so that was, you didn't want to cross them. I'll probably regret this interview, George.
Are they still alive? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, they're alive. They're around.
Oh, okay. No biggie. We'll just say it was a joke.
They love it. I mean, when you're a mobster, you take pride in that,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Absolutely. The new album, Holy Ground, is fantastic. It sounds good digitally. It sounds even better on vinyl, I think.
Yeah.
You did great work. It's going to set the bar high for everybody else, and I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate it, and thanks for a great interview, and thanks to all your listeners for supporting music. We got to get back to it. It's definitely essential for mental health, to get to see live music. It was last summer, my neighbor rolled her piano out into the middle of the street and did a concert. Yeah. And it was the best. It was like I had a beer and I was sitting there on my lawn chair listening to live music. It was insane. Just a piano player.
Yeah.
So let's get back there, everybody.
Well, like Cinderella said, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
That's
so
right.
You got to get it back, right?
That's right. That's right, bro.